I do not encourage nor condone any of the actions performed or products shown in this video. All of the videos are produced in a safe and controlled environment. Do not attempt to replicate any of the actions performed during this video.
Hello there my friends, it is now 5:19 p.m. and I'm going to be starting this video at about now because I came back from piano practice. Then I was looking at some fingers. I was watching the man that wrote the piece that I'm studying play so I could see which fingers he's using in some passages that I'm having trouble with. And I am going to journal now because I have a lot to say and I want to unpack, and then we'll see. My fingers are really hurting. If there's one thing I don't mind hurting for, that's music, so. Best rice in the world, jasmine rice. The day is ending very beautifully today. I'm very happy to be watching the sunset right now. I'm gonna go check on my rice. With the piano pieces that I'm studying, I think I've gotten to the point now where they just keep repeating, looping endlessly in my brain. You know, it has replaced any and all Radiohead that might have been there before, but now I'm just listening to my pieces on repeat in my brain, and this is usually the part where I start to be able to play them better because I'm constantly hearing them playing inside of my head. Also, I really like sitting outside at the end of the day because you can hear the gradual loss of movement outside, as in like 5:30 rush hour you hear a lot of honking, a lot of people talking, screaming outside, you know, buses passing. And then as 8 p.m. rolls around, people are more so inside eating dinner and it feels calmer. 3 a.m. almost a total stop of noise outside, and I just really love the gradual decrease in movement, and just being able to notice it is very nice. I don't know why. Also, I've been playing so much Guild Wars lately. I love that game. Guild Wars 2 specifically. It's just so calming. I just play my piano pieces in the background on Spotify and I play Guild Wars. I do my little tasks and it just feels so nice. So, to the person that introduced me to Guild Wars, You have changed my life. Hello my friends, a very good night to you. It is now 10:10 p.m. Can you see that? 10:10, I promise. Actually very fun to say that. Try it at home, 10:10 p.m. Rolls out of the tongue quite well. I have chamomile tea because I'm supposed to be asleep by 11, and also my smoke for the day, which I have saved for this occasion at night. You know, I would say something. If you have trouble with the passage of time, whether you think it goes by too slow or too quick, I would say sit down at sunset, at a place where preferably you can watch the sun go down the horizon, and just watch the colors change, because I feel like both during sunset and sunrise you have such a good perception of the passage of time, especially if you can see the sun past the horizon line. It's like you can see it move, and I feel like during the day we are either too distracted or it's too difficult to look at the sun because it's too bright and it's too up there, and I don't want to be doing this. But at sunset, you know, there's a beauty in just sitting down and noticing time passing with the movement of the sun. I think it's so nice, and I did it today. And you know, the structure of my days has changed a lot these past weeks since I've decided I wanted to study for my grade exams for piano. There are a lot of hours that I was using for research for YouTube or just planning video ideas that I no longer have because I'm practicing a lot, and I'm having to manage my time in a much more strict way. And so just being able to sit down and notice the sun go down felt very nice. It's a very beautiful thing to do, you know. Today I've thought a lot. I think I wrote 3 pages in my journal today, which is unusual. I usually write 1 in the morning, just because I usually wake up with so many thoughts and feelings and emotions, especially from my dreams, that I just want to sit down and let it all out so it doesn't bother me for the rest of the day, which is very prone to happen if I don't write. So that's why I've gotten into the habit of journaling, and I've done it for so many years now, more than 10 years now. I can't believe I'm already at the age where I've done something for 10 years, you know. You always hear adults be like, I was 25 years in this career path, and I'm like, I'm not even 25 years old, and you've spent 25 years of your life doing something. But now I can say, yeah, I've spent 10 years of my life journaling, you know. I don't know, it feels really nice. It's been a habit that just has stuck with me for so long, and it has never felt forced, you know. Many times I didn't feel like writing, and so I didn't write. I don't think you can force your emotions to come out or force yourself to write when you don't feel like it. It has to be something that comes from a place of wanting to do it. And so just having this desire to do it so often feels great. Also, I have a very detailed backlog of the past 10 years of my life that I can look back on, which sometimes it's a little much, but a lot of other times is also very nice. We have the moon. I cannot believe this. Also, I set up some lights. I hope you guys enjoy. I can change the color if you'd like. Would you like blue? I tried blue. I don't think it looks nice. I think this is warmer and cozier. I'm probably going to lay down and read a little bit of my book. I've been in a little bit of a reading slump. I read a lot from like January to August, and then August came around and everything went wrong in the span of like 2 weeks or a week and a half. And so I stopped allocating so much time to read, and I stopped thinking about which books I want to read next, because I was focusing on how am I going to solve all of these things, you know. But reading is something that's very, very important to me. I feel like a lot of people usually ask me how I've improved my English over time, or how I've learned my English. And I think that I learned most of it through watching YouTube videos in English. But the reason why my English has improved so much over the past, especially year and a half, is definitely due to how much I'm reading, you know. I'm learning new ways to form sentences and new words that I have never heard about before. And one thing I like doing when I'm reading a book is, if I don't know what a specific word is, I'll look it up online and I'll write it. I'll do like a little star, and then underneath the page where there's a little blank space, I'll write what the word means so that I memorize it, you know? It's one thing to look it up and maybe you'll memorize it that way, but for me, writing it down just really solidifies the knowledge in my brain. So I feel like learning a language is just exposing yourself to the language as much as you can. And I've also been trying to read a lot in Portuguese because I started feeling like my vocabulary is better in English now than it is in Portuguese because I read so much more in English. I have this thing where I think translations are better in English than in Portuguese. It's kind of a silly prejudice that I need to get over, you know. There's probably very good translators for Portuguese too. And, you know, all books that are written in Portuguese, I read in Portuguese, obviously, but I really love Russian literature, and most of that I read in English translation. And because it is so complex and complicated a lot of the times, I feel like a lot of my English has improved through that. At this moment in time, I feel a weird sense or a weird sensation with myself. I feel like I am growing out of myself. I don't know how to explain this properly. I've only started thinking about it very recently because that's when I figured that I was feeling this way. But I feel like I'm growing out of whoever I was before. At the core of it, I'm still exactly the same, but I feel like there are some traits that are changing, you know? I feel like I think a lot more about things now. I used to be very quick to make decisions and to say things and to think things, and I feel like now I think a lot more before I jump into conclusions, which is something that I never really did before. I feel like I'm more anxious than I was, unfortunately. I feel like I'm planning things a lot more, and I'm more worried about the future than I ever was before. You know, there's very good reasons why one would be worried about the future now more than ever, but I feel like I'm getting these adult preoccupations that I never really thought about before. And this is probably just a natural process of aging, but I definitely feel like I'm some sort of shell and I'm like crawling out of it somehow. I don't know how to explain it better. I need to think about it more. I feel like I've done a lot of growing up. I've also been forced to do a lot of growing up in the past years, and some of it has been in directions that I wish it wouldn't have gone. Like, I wish I was less anxious and less preoccupied, and instead I've become more of those. But you know, that can change, hopefully. I don't know how I will change that, but you know, I have hope, which is a good thing. You know, for many years of my life I never had hope that things would turn out for the best, and now I do. I feel like maybe that's another thing that's changing. I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm naturally a pessimistic person, always think about the worst that's ever going to happen, always protect myself against the possible worst case scenario, which is not a good thing to do because I avoid a lot of situations in order to protect myself, situations that could be very valuable and good to be in had I not been so scared to do them, you know. But anyway, these have been my reflections for today, my friends. It has been very nice spending this end of day / night with all of you, and my chamomile tea too. Cheers. I have my Stardew Valley mug that my boyfriend's sister made for me. She made this for me because she knows how much I love Stardew Valley. How valuable is that? You know? I tend to break things sometimes when I'm clumsy and I'm not paying attention, but this, I'm always paying attention when I'm holding this, making sure I'm not breaking it because it's just so special. I hope you have enjoyed hanging out for a little bit, my friend. Have a beautiful rest of your day or night. And I feel like we have seen the moon come down a little bit, haven't we? Just like I saw the sun come down at the end of the day, I feel like the moon has shifted positions a little bit too. I'll see you all soon, alright? Bye!